Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know First AI's massive energy demand creates a new powered land real estate class where megawatts, not square footage, define value. We'll explore how this shift could transform real estate development and create a new financial market for tradable power rights. Second, Microsoft's deal for 3 Mile Island Power reveals Silicon Valley's desperate bet on nuclear energy to fuel the AI boom. We'll analyse why this is a turning point and how the clash between tech optimism and nuclear reality could affect AI's energy roadmap. Third, ASML's €5.4 billion order book shows the AI arms race is making the European chip machine giant immune to losing the Chinese market. In this episode, we'll break down this critical development and what it signals for the future of the global semiconductor supply chain. Fourth, Honor's new on-device AI in China directly challenges Apple by creating an AI portal that bypasses the traditional App Store model. This discussion will reveal how this connects to the larger trend of diverging AI ecosystems and what it means for the future of mobile platforms. Fifth, OpenAI's pivot to allow Erotica on ChatGPT using a new age prediction AI ignites a fierce debate on safety, liability, and profit. So we'll discuss why this controversial move matters and what it means for the future of AI content moderation and platform responsibility. Let's start with a single startling projection. The world needs to find an empty piece of land nearly the size of 3 Manhattans in the next 5 years. And it's not for new cities or parks. It's for the insatiable hunger of artificial intelligence. And the numbers behind this are staggering. The International Energy Agency projects that by 2030, global electricity demand from data centers will more than double. What's often missed in this conversation is that this isn't just about more computers. It's a different kind of demand. A while back, we talked about how far this is already pushing the system from emergency nuclear restarts in Michigan to communities flipping from NIMBY to YIMBY for high-paying energy jobs. Today, the new twist is how real estate itself is reorganizing around power. This demand is creating a new gold rush in real estate, but the prize isn't prime property, it's pure power. A new sector is exploding called powered land, which is just raw land with one critical guarantee, massive amounts of electricity. We previously analysed the scramble to secure megawatts. The latest development is that those megawatts are becoming the defining feature of what makes land valuable in the first place. The core of the problem is that an AI data center's power usage is fundamentally different from ours. Your home's power usage goes up and down, peaking in the morning and evening. But an AI data center is like a city that never sleeps. It demands a massive, constant, 24/7 flow of power, which puts an entirely new kind of strain on our electrical grids. This is already causing major issues. In places like Virginia and Texas, the explosive growth of data centers is pushing local grids to their breaking point, raising concerns about stability and increasing electricity costs for everyone. We've already seen hints of this. A while back, a mid-Atlantic power auction saw prices jump 800%, and we flagged the risk of a private parallel grid where the newest, most reliable electrons get reserved for a few. According to David Steinbach, the global chief investment officer at real estate giant Hines, the challenge isn't building walls anymore. It's getting megawatts to the site. His company, a developer for over 20 years, has completely pivoted its strategy. They're no longer just building data centers. They're securing power rights, mapping grids, and turning those energy commitments into a tradable, investable asset class. We previously looked at the supply-side response, reviving a shuttered nuclear plant in Michigan and even planning small modular reactors. This is the demand and development side catching up, developers becoming power brokers. So how exactly do you turn electricity into a tradable asset? It all starts with something called a power purchase agreement, or PPA. This is a long-term contract to buy electricity from a power producer, like a solar farm, at a fixed price. By standardizing these contracts, developers can buy, sell, and trade the rights to that future power, almost like a stock. It creates a whole new financial market built on pure energy. And this is how the dynamic we warned about, locking up the newest power ahead of everyone else, gets financialized. And the competition is fierce. It's not just real estate developers. Tech giants and energy producers are all scrambling for a piece of the action. Private equity is pouring in. with firms like Silver Lake launching a dedicated platform with an initial $400 million to assemble a global portfolio of these powered sites. A while back, we noted how big tech was turning to nuclear. Today's update is that capital is formalizing around powered land as a standalone asset class. This is also creating new geopolitical hotspots. Energy-rich nations in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, are using their vast power resources to attract massive AI investments, positioning themselves to become central hubs in the world's future digital economy. Continuing our last discussion about how nuclear restarts and SMRs add global drama, the frontier now includes countries that can underwrite guaranteed power at scale and fast. This isn't just a trend, it's a fundamental shift in what valuable land even means. The game has changed from chasing square footage to securing the electricity that powers the modern world. As one expert put it, this signals a new reality where the smartest money knows that AI infrastructure is the new oil. We've said before, the future of energy may be subatomic. Right now, the lever for real estate is simple. Who controls the megawatts controls the map. This isn't just a tech story. It's a building cycle story that is reshaping where the real estate business develops for decades to come. We were just talking about the insatiable hunger for power from the AI industry, and that brings us to the extreme, and some would say desperate measures being taken to feed it. In a move that sounds almost unbelievable, Microsoft just signed a deal to buy power from the infamous 3 Mile Island plant, site of the worst nuclear accident in US history. A while back, we noted how the pressure on the grid is already showing up in prices. One Mid-Atlantic power auction spiked more than 800%. What used to be a 20 megawatt headache is now a rounding error next to a single hyperscale data center. In that context, a deal like this starts to look less shocking and more inevitable. The push for nuclear comes down to one critical need: baseload power, a constant 24 divided by 7 stream of electricity to run their massive data centers. While they've invested heavily in solar and wind, those sources are intermittent. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. Nuclear, on the other hand, never stops. This deal is about securing a guaranteed carbon-free power supply that can keep up with AI's relentless appetite. And as we warned a while back, this rush risks creating a kind of private parallel energy grid where the newest, most reliable power gets carved out for a handful of corporations, leaving everyone else on aging infrastructure and higher bills. And they're not alone. Google and Amazon are also funding new nuclear projects, betting on a technology called small modular reactors, or SMRS. We've been tracking this trend. Bill Gates has been out front declaring the future of energy is subatomic, and plans are underway to pilot the nation's first SMRS at the resurrected Michigan plant. But this isn't just a clean energy play. After all, it's also a new front in a global geopolitical race. While the US is relying on private companies like Google and Kairos Power to innovate, state-backed programs in China and Russia are already deploying their own SMRS. China's first advanced SMR became operational last year, and Russia is actively exporting its nuclear technology. And remember, many of these advanced designs need a special fuel called HALEU, where Russia has dominated the market. The US is only now scrambling to build a domestic HALEU supply chain, with plans to stand it up in the early 2030s. So the race isn't just about reactors, it's about who controls the fuel. So why the desperation? The International Energy Agency says power demand from data centers could double in just the next 5 years. AI has exploded, reaching a saturation point in less than 15 months, a process that took decades for cars and computers. We previously highlighted a single deal to deploy roughly 6 gigawatts of GPUs, enough electricity for about 4.5 million US homes for a year, illustrating how AI demand is colliding with national power budgets. Data centers could consume up to 9% of all US electricity by 2030. To put that in perspective, training a single large AI model like GPT-3 consumes enough electricity to power about 130 US homes for an entire year. And just the daily operation of a model like ChatGPT can use the same amount of energy as 33,000 households. The scale here is, frankly, hard to wrap your head around. The tech industry sees SMRS as the answer, a carbon-free, always-on power source. But a former top nuclear regulator just delivered a bombshell assessment. Alison McFarlane, the former chair of the US Nuclear Regulatory Commission says most SMRs are just on paper and calls out the plan, stating, "These are fun ideas," but the tech bros don't seem to be grounded in reality. We've already seen the warning signs. An SMR project in Idaho was cancelled last year after cost balloon proof that the spreadsheets aren't the same as steel in the ground. Her skepticism highlights a massive culture clash. Silicon Valley's famous motto is move fast and break things. But the nuclear industry is built on the exact opposite principle, a slow, meticulous, safety-first culture governed by intense regulation. The tech world's optimism is running headfirst into the harsh reality of nuclear licensing, public trust, and decades-long development cycles. And the rabbit hole goes deeper. Experts say these small reactors are years away from being financially viable. Worse, a Stanford study found that SMRs could actually produce more radioactive waste than larger conventional reactors. From a technical standpoint, the concern is that the smaller core of an SMR leaks more neutrons. These neutrons bombard the surrounding materials, making more of them radioactive. The research suggests this could lead to up to 30 times more long-lived radioactive waste per unit of energy compared to a traditional plant. That means a bigger, more expensive cleanup problem down the line. In one New York town, public backlash to a proposed reactor was so strong that the council unanimously voted to ban nuclear power generation entirely. Contrast that with what we covered a while back in Michigan, where a community with a long history at the plant flipped from not in my backyard to yes in my backyard because the promise of high-paying jobs changed the calculus. Public sentiment is split, and it swings on economics as much as safety. This all boils down to a fundamental mismatch. The AI industry's demand for energy is skyrocketing right now, but the nuclear solution that Silicon Valley is pouring resources into is, by most expert accounts, years if not decades away from making a real impact. Layer on the HALEU bottleneck in a domestic fuel push that won't fully materialise until the early 2030s, and the gap widens. It's a high-stakes bet where the timeline for the problem and the timeline for the solution simply do not add up. Speaking of bottlenecks, the energy crisis isn't the only thing holding back the AI boom. There's another, even more concentrated choke point in the supply chain. The most unexpected news in the European tech scene today comes from a company that just warned its China sales are about to fall off a cliff. Instead of its stock crashing, though, it climbed. The reason for this paradox tells us everything about the current AI arms race. The company's ASML, a Dutch firm that just became the most valuable publicly traded company in all of Europe. They build the hyper-complex machines that are absolutely essential for making the world's most advanced computer chips. Without them, there is no AI revolution. To understand the stakes here, you have to know that ASML has a near monopoly on a technology called extreme ultraviolet, or EUV, lithography. This is the only known way to print the microscopic circuits on the most advanced chips powering AI. Because they are the only game in town, they operate as a critical choke point in the entire global tech ecosystem. This gives them immense power, but it also means the whole industry depends on them. As we discussed a while back, regulators have shifted from just blocking chips to policing access routes. The twin probes into megaspeed were the tell, so choke points like ASML have become the leverage points in this fight. So what's fueling this strange confidence? A single jaw-dropping number, 5.4 billion euros. That's how much in new orders ASML booked in just the last 3 months, almost entirely driven by the global arms race for AI dominance. We previously flagged the massive compute crunch and the hundreds of billions in AI capital expenditure from the cloud giants. This order book is that wave crashing directly into ASML's backlog. What's really driving this investor confidence is that companies like Intel are aggressively buying ASML's next generation high NA EUV machines, which cost an eye-watering $380 million a piece. Intel is betting its future on getting these machines first to leapfrog its rivals. This high-stakes gamble is what that 5.4 billion euro number really represents, a down payment on the next decade of tech supremacy. Continuing our last discussion about NVIDIA's frenemy investment in Intel and Intel's push to become a foundry, this is Intel arming up, securing leading-edge tools, and crucially, the pathway to more US-based capacity for advanced chips. And here's where the story gets tense. In the same breath, ASML's leadership confirmed they expect a significant drop in demand from China next year. This isn't just a market shift, it's the direct result of geopolitical pressure and tightening US export restrictions, placing this European titan squarely in the crossfire of a superpower rivalry. A few days ago, we mentioned investigations into alleged workarounds for restricted AI hardware. That enforcement momentum makes access not just demand the real constraint. Now, to be fair, this drop was partly expected. Chinese firms have been stockpiling ASML's slightly older machines ahead of the bans taking full effect. While China is racing to build its own equipment with companies like SME, they are years, maybe decades, away from matching ASML's cutting-edge technology. So for now, the US-led restrictions enforced by the Dutch government have effectively cut them off from the future of AI chips. And as we've said before, these controls can have unintended consequences, creating protected space for local contenders to sprint, but the time gap to catch high-NA EUV remains enormous. This all begs the question, what's the real endgame? ASML is betting its entire strategy on one thing, that the AI boom is bigger than the US-China trade war. It's a bet that the demand from giants like TSMC, fueled by deals from NVIDIA and Intel, will be so overwhelming that it can completely offset the loss of a massive market. A while back, we focused on hyperscalers, scramble custom chips, full stack designs, and record capital expenditure to escape the compute bottleneck. Today, the focus shifts to the upstream beneficiary of that scramble, ASML's order book. ASML is even partnering directly with AI firms like Mistral to get closer to the action. And interestingly enough, that partnership with Mistral isn't just about selling machines to AI companies. ASML is working with Mistral to integrate AI directly into the chip-making process itself. By using AI to optimize the incredibly complex physics of lithography, they can make the process faster and more precise. It's a move to secure their monopoly for another generation. The situation at ASML is no longer just about business forecasts. It's a real-time indicator of a massive global power shift. The AI gold rush has become a force of nature in the global economy, powerful enough to make the loss of the entire Chinese market look like a calculated risk for the one company that holds the keys to the future. And as we noted a while back, when governments start treating tech flows like finance with know your customer rigor, and when rivals like NVIDIA and Intel link arms to secure production, the center of gravity has moved. ASML is where that gravity is strongest. While companies like ASML are shaping the global hardware landscape, the battle for AI dominance is also being fought on the software front, and nowhere is that more apparent than in China. A smartphone company there just launched a new feature that could change how you shop online, automatically finding discounts of up to 20% by discovering coupons you would otherwise miss. Behind the scenes, though, this move creates a fascinating tension with the e-commerce platforms themselves. While it drives traffic to their sites, it also bypasses their own carefully crafted pricing and recommendation algorithms. It's a big deal because giants like Alibaba and JD.com have invested billions in their own AI to control the customer journey and maximize revenue. Honor's tool, operating at the phone level, essentially sidesteps them, creating a new battleground for who truly owns the shopper's experience. This isn't a new app. It's an on-device AI from Chinese smartphone maker Honor, and it's being deployed right before the country's biggest shopping event of the year, Singles Day. With this move, Honor is making a direct play to climb from 6th place into the top 3 smartphone brands in China by the end of this year. This aggressive push puts one company directly in the crosshairs, Apple. While Apple's CEO Tim Cook recently visited China, the American tech giant has yet to release its own AI features in the country, even after a partnership with Alibaba was announced. Honor, which spun off from Huawei, is now working with that same partner, Alibaba, to co-develop its own AI functions. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn, highlighting a growing split in the world of AI. We're seeing 2 different AI ecosystems emerge, one for China and one for the rest of the world. Outside of China, Honor partners with companies like Google, but inside China, strict data sovereignty laws and US tech restrictions mean it must build a coalition of domestic giants like Alibaba. This is precisely why Apple is finding it so difficult to launch its AI in China, while Honor can move at lightning speed by using local partners for a market-specific strategy. But this is about more than just shopping deals. Honor's product president, Fei Fang, stated the company believes users will increasingly access functions through a single AI portal rather than opening individual apps. And make no mistake, this AI portal vision is a massive shift. It's a direct challenge to the App Store economy that Apple and Google have dominated for over a decade. The idea is to create an operating system where the AI anticipates your needs. For example, a feature called Magic Portal lets you literally drag text, like an address, to a ride-sharing service on the side of your screen to book a ride, all without ever opening the app itself. It's about breaking down the walls between apps and making the phone work for you, not the other way around. The new AI can already hail a taxi with a simple voice command like book me a ride back home, learning your address from on-device data without sending personal information to the cloud. However, that on-device claim isn't quite as simple as it sounds. Honor is using what's called a hybrid AI architecture. For personal things like your home address, the processing stays on the phone for privacy. But for more complex requests that need massive computing power, the system can securely connect to powerful cloud-based AI models. This strategy of blending on-device privacy with cloud-based power is a clever way to offer the best of both worlds. To make this happen, Honor is going all in. The company has pledged a staggering $10 billion to AI development over the next 5 years. Fei Fang admitted the company has invested a lot of money, stating, "We believe we must first create value for consumers before commercialization." So that $10 billion investment, it's not just about making a better phone. It's a calculated business strategy. The free AI features are what we call a loss leader to sell more hardware in the short term. The long-term plan is likely to build what's called a data moat by understanding user habits on a deep level. Honor can eventually create new revenue streams, perhaps by taking a small cut of the transactions its AI facilitates. It's a pivot from being a hardware seller to an AI ecosystem company. Honor is betting that by spending big now and offering these powerful AI tools for free, it can fundamentally reshape the smartphone race in one of the world's most competitive markets. From a calculated ecosystem play in China, we now turn to a high-risk gamble in the US that's stirring up a huge debate. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, just announced a massive pivot. It will soon allow Erotica on its platform. CEO Sam Altman says it's part of a push to treat adult users like adults. So how are they planning to do that safely? Well, what many might not grasp is that OpenAI isn't just flipping a switch. They're developing a new age prediction system that estimates a user's age based on how they interact with ChatGPT. If the AI is uncertain, it defaults to treating the user as a minor and keeps the strict filters on. A while back, we dug into the safety-privacy trade-off behind systems like this. Detecting maturity, distress, or risk often means handling extremely sensitive data. OpenAI has said before that user data is deleted after around 30 days and not used for training unless you opt in. But even with those policies, these pipelines can become honeypots of intimate information, raising big questions about security and misuse. But the timing of this decision is an absolute bombshell. The announcement comes directly after OpenAI was hit with its first ever wrongful death lawsuit, filed by the parents of a teen who took his own life after interacting with the chatbot. We previously analysed the liability vacuum around AI advice, who is responsible when a model gives truly harmful guidance. The latest development is that this unresolved question isn't theoretical anymore, it's moving into courtrooms. Altman stated that while they were previously pretty restrictive to be careful with mental health issues, the company now has new tools that allow it to safely relax the restrictions. And what are these new tools? Beyond the age prediction AI, OpenAI is also rolling out parental controls. This would allow parents to link accounts with their teens, manage features, and even get notifications in cases of acute distress. Altman himself has said, "We prioritize safety ahead of privacy and freedom for teens." The question is, will it be enough? Continuing our last discussion, the tension here is that training an AI to spot real distress typically requires exposure to sensitive data. That can mean false positives that trip crisis escalations and false negatives with real-world consequences while still concentrating highly personal information in a single place. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is understanding the business motivation. From a business perspective, the logic becomes clearer. OpenAI's revenue has skyrocketed, going from just $28 million in 2022 to $1.6 billion by the end of 2023. But here's the catch. The company is still losing massive amounts of money. This move into Erotica could be a calculated strategy to tap into the global adult content market, which is valued at over $100 billion. It's a huge financial gamble. A while back, we talked about OpenAI's built-in public posture, shipping fast, letting society adapt. and risking accusations of beta testing on everyone. This latest pivot fits that same playbook. Move quickly to capture users and iterate under the glare of public scrutiny. Experts point out that AI companies are in a fierce fight for users, and this move could help OpenAI attract more paying subscribers, putting it in direct competition with rivals like Elon Musk's XAI, which already offers explicit chatbots. And this competition is playing out differently across the globe. Believe it or not, OpenAI is able to make this move largely thanks to the more flexible, innovation-focused regulatory approach in the US. In contrast, under the European Union's much stricter AI Act, a feature like this would face enormous hurdles, creating a potential split in how AI operates around the world. We noted a while back that Chinese systems often bake in political and content controls at the model level 2 philosophies of AI development diverging in real time, which only sharpens the likelihood of regional splits in what's allowed. Critics are firing back hard. One lawyer involved in a similar suit against Meta declared that OpenAI, like others in big tech, is just using people like guinea pigs. And this guinea pig accusation gets even more complicated when you look at what the AI is being used for. Research points to a serious ethical dilemma. Can a single AI platform be both a quasi-therapeutic tool for lonely people and an erotic toy for sexual fantasy? The concern is that vulnerable users seeking companionship could be led into addictive or harmful interactions, blurring those lines completely. As we flagged before, the new dating coach is a program great for instant validation, but potentially at the expense of developing real-world emotional skills. The context of this is chilling. A new survey found that 1 in 5 students report that they or someone they know has already had a romantic relationship with an AI. This trend is significant because experts call these one-sided attachments parasocial relationships. While they can provide comfort, they can also lead to unhealthy dependencies, especially for those who are already struggling with real-world connections. A few episodes back, we mentioned broader polling showing more than 1/5 of Americans reporting emotional ties to chatbots. Today's student-focused stat suggests that these bonds are deepening among younger users too. While the US Federal Trade Commission launches an inquiry and the Senate drafts new laws, OpenAI is forging ahead. But under the hood, this presents a huge technical challenge. To make this work, OpenAI has to solve what some engineers call the schizophrenic AI problem. How do you make sure the professional assistant AI doesn't accidentally start acting like the erotic chatbot AI? This risk, known as context bleed, is a massive technical challenge. If the AI's different personas leak into each other, the results could be unpredictable and unsafe. And remember, new guardrails and age checks don't just create safety, they create an identity economy. We recently talked about how regulators are pushing age verification and how platforms like Apple, with its declared age range, could become gatekeepers of that data, centralizing yet another sensitive layer of information. The company is now in a high-stakes race, not just against its competitors for profit, but against regulators and critics who say the risks are simply too high. We previously analysed the ship fast, adapt later doctrine. The latest development is that OpenAI is testing whether that strategy can withstand a world of parental controls, adult content, and an intensifying liability debate all at once.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.